Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. Today we will discuss how Pakistan has become the epicenter of global terrorism. Elite Iranian commandos have reportedly carried out a surgical strike inside Pakistan to secure freedom of two soldiers from the captivity of Pakistan-based terror outfit Jaish-ul-Adl. Thus, Iran has become the third country after the US and India to carry out such an anti-terror surgical operation on Pakistani soil. Such operations have become necessary since the Pakistani establishment provides safe haven to terror groups which cause trouble to other countries. In the agenda today, we will discuss how terror groups and terrorists prosper in Pakistan, making the country the epicenter of global terrorism. We have with us retired Major General Dhruv Katoch. From Islamabad, we are joined by political analyst Mona Siddiqui. But before we begin our conversation, let's have a look at this small report.
More and more countries are getting compelled to take actions on their own to hit terror groups which are based in Pakistan and are hurting other nations and the world. The latest example is the cross-border surgical strike reportedly carried out by Iranian security forces in Pakistan to free two Iranian soldiers kidnapped by terror group Jaish-ul-Adl. The outfit is based in Pakistan and Iran has declared it a terrorist organization which is waging an armed struggle against the Iranian government. Prior to this, surgical strikes have been carried out by the US and India against terrorists and terror groups based in Pakistan. In 2011, the special forces of US carried out a midnight covert mission to target and kill the world's most wanted terrorist Osama bin Laden, who was living on the outskirts of Pakistani capital Islamabad and very close to an army cantonment. Subsequently, in 2016, India carried out a surgical strike to target terrorists across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The terrorists were using those places as launch pads to target India. The Indian action was a reaction to the terror attack at an army camp in Uri in Kashmir in which 18 soldiers were killed. Even Taliban commanders who keep carrying out terror attacks in Afghanistan move freely in Pakistan. Pakistan has become a country where terrorists are protected and nurtured by the establishment. The latest classic example is the royal treatment accorded to Omar Saeed Sheikh, a terrorist and killer of American journalist Daniel Pearl. Not only has his death sentence been commuted, he has been ordered to be free and shifted to a good rest house. Such things clearly highlight how Pakistan has become an established safe haven for terrorists. Bureau Report.
Let's welcome our guests, Major General Katoch and Mona Siddiqui from Islamabad. So I'll first go to General Katoch about the reports of Iranian surgical strike in Pakistan. So why do you think any country can be so compelled to carry out such operations?
Now you see in this particular case, the incident had actually taken place in 2018,
Right.
in the month of October, where 12 of these Iranian soldiers
Right.
had been taken captive by the Jaish-ul-Adl, that is the name of the group. Now, in the very next month, both Pakistan and Iran, through negotiations, they managed to free 5 of them.
Right.
And then Pakistan carried out a military operation and 4 more were rescued. But that still left 3 people. And I think they have a very open border between Iran and Pakistan. And it is not manned per se by troops. So it is easy for some insurgent outfits to hide there. And I think that is why the Iranians, not getting Pakistani help, were forced to go in, get the intelligence, pinpoint intelligence, and rescue 2 individuals in an operation on Tuesday night.
Right.
If have been very close to the border, say within 5 to 6 kilometers. One of the reasons why these groups are hiding close to the border is if Pakistani troops come near, then they can cross over to Iran, into
Right.
Sistan Balochistan. You see, so they have the option of moving close. You can understand this border. It is something like the India-Myanmar border.
Okay.
So this is an operation which I think Iran was compelled to carry out. They wanted to get back the soldiers. And I don't think it reflects well on the Pakistan military.
But I
And
don't.
it is going to certainly lead to tension between the two.
That is one embarrassment. One aspect is embarrassment of the Pakistani forces, and
Yes.
another important aspect is like it's not only Jaish-ul-Adal. There are also Jaish-e-Mohammed, there are Lashkar-e-Toiba, top commanders are there and they operate from Pakistani soil, and India had to carry out one such operation to target them because Pakistani military will not do that. So why do you think that Pakistan has such kind of breeds, mushrooming breeds of terrorists?
You see, when we are looking at terrorism within Pakistan, in my own studies and analysis,
Yeah,
there are three kinds of people. One are terrorist groups like the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which are specifically used to target India.
right.
Then there is the Afghan Taliban,
Yes,
which is specifically used to target Afghanistan. Now, both these groups are supported by the Pakistani states. But we have a third group of terrorists, that is the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Now, these are not supported by the Pakistani state, but they attack the Pakistani state. So the fourth group, the Jaish-ul-Adal, this is actually based in Sistan Balochistan,
yeah,
and they operate on the Iran-Pakistan border. So you see, Pakistan has got itself into a state by which they have been supporting terrorist activities for many years. So as a result of which, it is difficult now to control terrorism. And most importantly, Pakistani society, ever since your tenure, has become increasingly radicalized. So we are finding a
so General Kato,
it's a heady mix of even the terrorists.
yeah, General Kato, we have one candid political analyst from Pakistan, Mona Siddiqui. I will ask her. Mona, I want to ask you, why do all kinds of terror operatives or terrorists or terror groups find a very happy place like Pakistan to be a happy place or safe haven? Why do you think so?
So you're asking me like what is the reason that we have, Pakistan is considered a safe haven for terrorists? Is that the question?
Yeah, that is the question. So why do terror groups, like all kinds of terror groups, find Pakistan a very nice place to be in, to operate from?
So I think I make no bones about it. The reason primary being Pakistan's flawed internal and external policies, and how Pakistan over the years have, for economic expediency, has played into the hands of foreign elements, not just foreign elements, but countries who wanted to wage war against terrorism, and then in return employ a group of terrorists, incubate them on Pakistani soil. So I think, and then I think the root causes of terrorism and why these groups have been formed, why they found more potency on Pakistani soil to become organized groups, is also the economic depreciation and poverty that has given a sense of victimization to particular communities, primarily that had more Islamic bent of mind. And these have been just compounded by lack of education. So I think and then of course, unfortunately, we have a neighbor like Afghanistan, who has always been very,
Right.
very unpredictable, very volatile. And I think our relations have never been very smooth. So I think there are a couple of factors, but I would rather, I think there has to be some soul searching done on Pakistan's part and see that where its own policies have gone astray or have not been able to, rein in and check in the outflow of terrorism.
Yeah, I will refer you to certain particular cases. As you mentioned about Afghanistan has been a problem, and Afghanistan has usually been cited by Pakistan as an excuse for the breeding of terror groups. But I'll talk about Osama bin Laden residing just on the outskirts of Islamabad, which was believed to be under the patronage of the establishment army, I'll say. Or if you take the case of Masood Azhar, he is Jaish-e-Mohammed chief and he is wanted. He is a known terrorist, wanted by UNSC has sanctioned him, and he is wanted in India in the 1999 hijack case and so many other cases. And so we have so many. We have Hafiz Saeed also. So these people are kind of enjoying the patronage and maybe support and protection, everything by the establishment, from the establishment. So why so? Why does it happen?
I think that's a very tricky question. That's why they find political patronage. First of all, they don't find political patronage unless you mean to say that politics is Pakistan army here. I think they find.
I did not mention political patronage. I mentioned establishment, that is the army.
Oh, okay. So I think because every country has proxies, let's admit the fact that no country, wherever they find it difficult, to gain their direct grounds or routes, they have their proxies, they have their shadow soldiers or ghost soldiers. Every country does that. And Pakistan being a deep state, has to have that network where it doesn't directly engages in any military confrontation and uses proxies like Hafiz Saeed and others such as mentioned to obtain its objectives. However, I'd say that Pakistan in recent years has taken unprecedented measures, in urban cross-border infiltration and terrorism, not just across Afghanistan but also Iran. I don't know what hinders it to take similar action. For India, like fencing the borders, our country have a fencing border, with India. But I think coming back to your point about why they enjoy military patronage or establishment patronage is because I think Pakistan Army does not have where it does not enjoy an official mandate, where it does not enjoy political and public support of engaging in a military combat, in a direct military offensive. That's where I think they use their proxies.
Their proxies,
and,
yeah.
Let's not shy away from the fact that every country has their proxies in other countries.
So, General Katoj, you heard Mona, army could be using these as proxies, as we know, and these proxies are used against us, against Afghanistan. Afghanistan is also angry. They say Taliban cadres and commanders move freely in Pakistan and attack our armed forces there and carry out targeted killings also. And we have the same grouse, same in fact complaint, but Pakistan establishment is not helping, rather they are helping them, the terrorists. I mean, they are not helping curb this menace. What do you say?
You see, you have used the term establishment for the military.
Yeah.
But I would also say it is a political establishment which is on this particular issue,
which I understand is
following
works.
the same line.
I'll say
Yes.
political establishment works under the army establishment in Pakistan, the case at least.
Both of them are together. What I mean to say is there is no difference. Now, it is the Pakistan government per se has used terrorists as an instrument of state policy. Now, that is the fundamental principle. So they have used terrorists to progress their own political agenda in Kashmir by sending terrorists into India and into Kashmir specifically and to other parts of India. And they are using the same, a different set of terrorist groups, the Afghan Taliban, to retain their control over Afghanistan. Now they are looking at a a drawdown stage where the Americans have left.
Yeah.
And if they want to get back control in Afghanistan,
Right.
want to be in the driver's seat. So terrorism has been consistently used by Pakistan as an instrument of state policy by these two groups. Unfortunately, what happens is that once you start breeding terrorists, they start hitting back at you also.
Right.
So that is why you're finding Pakistan is in a very deep security situation by which these terrorists, when they feel like it, they also attack the Pakistani state.
Yes.
And we are having great violence in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in Balochistan, even in the Gilgit-Baltistan, there is a great deal of suppression. So we are finding the
Sindh
Pakistan
also.
military getting involved
Yeah.
in suppression through and through within Pakistan also now. And the direct cause is they supported terror activities.
Right. So that is why actually, if I was trying to, underline, understanding the Pakistani scenario, Pakistani politics and everything, systems rather. We know political parties, if they try to depart, if you talk about Nawaz Sharif, after the Pulwama attack, not only Pulwama attack, the Pathankot attack, he tried to, have joint investigation and other things. But then we know what army did with him, and he's out now. So that's what I'm saying. Army establishment has a different agenda there. Political establishment have to follow those orders.
That may be true, but please take it from me. When we are looking at the Pakistani policy against India, both the political establishment and the military are on the same page. So let us not confuse the two to say that the politicians are good and the military is bad. Both of them support terrorism in India and in Afghanistan.
Okay, Mona, you heard General Katoch. Both politicians and army are on the same page when it comes to terrorism, export of terrorism to Pakistan, India and Afghanistan. What do you say?
Ajay, can you please repeat that for me?
Yeah, the question is that General Katoch is saying that in Pakistan, both politicians, political parties, politicians and army are on the same page when it comes to export of terrorism to India and Afghanistan. So what would you say?
Okay, I think I'm having problems with hearing you correctly. What you're asking is that when it comes to terrorism against India and Afghanistan, army and politicians are on the same page.
Yeah. That is the question.
No, I don't really think so, because they're not on the same page on terrorism against any country. The only thing they're on the same page with army is the issue of Kashmir. That's the only page they find themselves together. Whereas it's terrorism, if you remember, I'm not a supporter of PTI, I'm not a supporter of Imran Khan, but he has, like sitting in India, has made a clean breast of confessed that we don't send, some sort is used against countries for terrorism. It's not that we are providing this, we are sending out, we're pouring in terrorism into other countries. It's just that Pakistan, due to its infrastructure weaknesses, due to its law infrastructure weaknesses, has become a very smooth playground, for terrorists to incubate and to get nourished here. So I think that's the main problem.
Mona, yeah.
I can say for a fact that every political party that has come into power has tried to curb terrorism to every extent that is possible. However, we do know that Pakistan is ruled by military from the shadows, and that is just a very grim fact about Pakistan's political structure. So when it comes to terrorism, you know for a fact that Pakistan has made huge sacrifices, both civilian and military. It's not easy. It has never been easy. We know the economic downfall that the country has had to suffer, not just because of terrorism, but also due to wrong policies of Chairman Musharraf that gave way to, terrorism feed in Pakistan. But I would kind of disagree with the statement that politicians and military are on the same page when they have to use Pakistan or terrorist networks against Afghanistan and or India. I don't really think so, because every political party, except for I think PTI, has always been very ambitious about having cordial relations, particularly with India, as we do acknowledge the fact that India is a rising economic power in the region, and having it on our side is only good for the country, and is only better for our economic prospects, combined economic prospects.
But Mona, since you talked about Kashmir, and I may refer to you that it has been under all kinds of governments, political governments, as we see, which are, we know political parties don't hold much power there, but under all political governments, there have been influx of terrorists from Pakistan or through LOC, through IB, international border, and which has been bleeding Kashmir all these years, over the last 30 years. So what kind of solidarity is it with Kashmiris that you are bleeding, terrorists are being sent to bleed Kashmir?
To free Kashmir, the kind of solidarity?
Yeah, Pakistan says we have solidarity with Kashmiris, but at the same time terrorists are being sent who cause bloodshed, violence in Kashmir and killing Kashmiris. So what kind of solidarity is that? And it has happened under all kinds of governments.
I think Ajay, you'd agree that because I think Pakistan does want to keep its hold in Indian occupied Kashmir. I'm sorry, I'm being politically incorrect. It's not Indian occupied. If it is Indian occupied, then we are not talking on the same wavelength. But I think an Indian part of Kashmir, if I can call it that. Every political party, because you have to play to the audience as well, and you have to, because it's kind of an electoral prop also. A lot of political parties to enjoy and they take votes on the political sentiments, with regards to Kashmir. So that also is one aspect that why every political party tries to, keep that objective in mind when they come into power, that under their rule and in their regime, in their tenure, they would want this whole thing to be solved. And if not solved, at least to be seen for optics' sake, to be seen as having some kind of presence and foothold in Indian Kashmir. So I would say that it really doesn't work with any kind of solidarity, because I think increasingly violence is becoming, the order of the day, which is not helping the cause in any way. And I guess with political parties and with elected political parties, the upside is that you can work towards a political solution. Like we have seen some political pathways being created to solve issue during Nawaz Sharif's and Vajpayee's government. So I think solidarity would probably mean that we need to find out a workable political solution to it instead of, I agree with you and that violence is not a solution, terrorism is not a solution. Be it on this side of the Kashmir or on the other side of the Kashmir. But terrorism is not a solution. I don't think so any political party would condone unless, of course, the powers that be find it the only way, to hegemonize the region.
General Katoj, you heard that Mona saying that it is a political necessity in Pakistan to rake up Kashmir and talk about Kashmir. What do you say?
No, you see, for Pakistan they may call it a politics, but the fact remains that they are using terrorism as an instrument of state policy to progress that politics.
Right.
So there is no doubts about that, right? And it was Mr. Bhutto who actually gave that statement that we will wage a 1,000-year war against India, and this will be a war with 1,000 cuts. So they wanted to bleed India through terrorism, and this is what they tried to do for 30 years. Now, India has been a soft state, and we said, okay, we tried every means to get on to peace. But finally, this present government said, no more. Right? You hit us, we'll hit you back.
Right.
And it is only after we have said we'll hit you back and hit you back harder after the surgical strikes and the strike at Balakot that we are finding a change coming about. Now, if Pakistan carries out any terrorist activities within India, that there will be a very strong response. And we will hit out. We will destroy their bases. The way Iran has destroyed their bases, we will destroy many more bases. So Pakistan cannot rest with the illusion that they can get away with cold-blooded murder each and every time. There are going to be consequences for supporting terror activities, and Pakistan will have to pay that price.
So, General Katoj, Pakistan Army Chief recently said that Pakistan Army wants peace in the region and would want to work for that and all that. How much do you believe it?
You see, if General Bajwa actually wants peace, then he has to take 2 or 3 very simple actions which are within his power. One, he has to close up every single terrorist camp of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and others within Pakistan. One. Number 2, those people who have carried out terrorist activities against India and who are in Pakistan as of now, who are responsible for the Mumbai attacks and for various attacks in Kashmir, he must hand them over to India to stand trial.
Right.
Now, if you do these 2 things, that will be setting the base for talks. But if you don't do the fundamentals, we cannot progress from there. So otherwise it is simply talking and trying to buy time, because the FATF is going to meet later in this month.
Yeah.
And Pakistan is desperate to get out of the grey list.
But I am not sure.
They won't be put on the blacklist.
I'm not
They
sure.
won't be put on the blacklist.
I'm not sure whether Bajwa will do all the steps you said. It's only, I guess,
so there will be no peace. So there will be no peace.
We have the latest case. When we talk about safe haven, I'm compelled to highlight the case of Daniel Pearl's murderer, Omar Sheikh. I mean, how bizarre it can be when the Supreme Court of Pakistan says that he should be given a comfortable place before he is released finally. He should be taken to a rest house, which should be like a 5-star hotel or something. What kind of message is Pakistan sending out to the world? General Katoj.
Just a question to me.
Yes, General Katoj, yeah.
Now, the Pakistani courts have consistently sent out very wrong messages. Now, what they have been, in this particular case of Daniel Pearl, I think even the United States has got annoyed.
Right.
And we have the Biden administration there, which is actually a bit soft on Pakistan. Right?
Right.
So, this is a very bad message which they have sent across to the world. But number 2, it is not just on terror. what they have done to their minorities and the way the courts have ruled in those cases. A 14-year-old Hindu girls and Sikh girls have been kidnapped and possibly converted. And the Pakistani courts have sided with the
Kidnapper.
with the
Kidnappers.
kidnappers.
Yeah.
You see, now what message are you trying to send? So Pakistan as a country is bound to disintegrate, right? You cannot continue with policies of this nature because ultimately when you, as one of the American senators said, if you breed snakes in your background, those snakes will come up and bite you also.
Right.
So when when the Pakistanis say we are also being affected by terror, of course they are being affected by terror. They created it.
Right.
So once you create terror, you are going to be impacted by terror.
Right.
And to stop it, they have to stop the very roots. Unless Pakistan closes up all terrorist camps within within the country, there will be no peace. And I'm afraid Pakistan is headed for a complete economic disaster. And in the years to come, you will see it splitting up into 3 or 4 pieces.
Right. Pakistan is clearly heading for disaster, all because of its own doing. But the time of this program is over. Thank you, both of you, for participating in this debate. Thanks. This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.